It was supposed to be an ordinary night. The supermarket was full of lights, voices, and a mingling of smells. Fresh bread coming out of the oven, freshly picked fruit displayed in wooden crates, coffee being ground in the background. People walked by with lists in hand. Children insistently begged for candy. Couples argued over which brand to buy. Everything seemed normal. You walked beside your mother, holding her hand tightly. The noise of the cars didn't bother you, because that hand gave you security. The world might be too big, but you had someone guiding your way. Until for a moment you were distracted. A shelf full of colorful toys caught your eye. You let go of her hand for just a few seconds, and when you looked again, she was gone. At first you thought she was joking. Maybe she'd turned down another hallway. Maybe she was just a few steps away. You called softly, "Mom?" The sound was faint, lost between the announcements on the loudspeaker and the background music playing repeatedly. No one answered, so you tried to walk quickly to the end of the hallway. But when you got there, you only found more people hurrying, more strange voices, more unfamiliar faces. Your heart began to race. You turned back, looking back and forth. But nothing, no familiar faces, no outstretched hands, no sign of who should be there. Panic came slowly, like a cold wave rising through your body. First your stomach tightened, then your chest heaved, and finally your eyes filled with tears. You tried to call out again, "Mom! Dad!" But the noise around you drowned out your voice. People hurried past, some even looking but quickly looking away. To them, you were just a crying child. Another detail in the hurried scene. With every second, the hallway seemed to grow longer, stretching endlessly. Your feet pounded the cold floor, but they led you nowhere. The sweet smell of fruit no longer brought comfort, and the colors on the shelves seemed to fade. You tried to remember your way back, but every hallway seemed the same. And then the scariest question arose. What if no one finds me? The tears you'd been holding back burst into sobs. You huddled against a stack of boxes, trying to hide from the world, as if you could disappear along with the fear. But the more you tried to hide, the more alone you felt. The entire supermarket was full, and yet it felt like the emptiest place on earth. It was then that something strange happened. Amidst so many hurried footsteps, a pair of feet stopped. It wasn't like the others that passed by without looking. Those footsteps stood there, firm, still, as if they had chosen you. You looked up slowly, tears still blurring your vision. And you saw a man lower himself before you until he was at your level. He wasn't in a hurry, wasn't carrying bags, didn't seem preoccupied with shopping. He just looked directly at you, a calm human look full of compassion. His smile wasn't one of amusement, but of understanding. It was Paul Walker. Paul slowly lowers himself to your level. The supermarket is still full of noise, carts banging against shelves, children laughing in the background, voices discussing prices. But in that moment, everything seems distant, as if the entire world has been turned down so that only that moment exists. He doesn't say anything right away. He just observes. His gaze is different from all the others who passed by you that night. It's not rushed, it's not indifferent. It's a look that sees more than the tears on a child's face. It's a look that says, "I know what it's like to feel lost." You sob, trying to hold back tears, but his eyes convey something you can't explain. It's as if calm has a face. Paul extends his hand, but doesn't touch you right away. He leaves it there, suspended in the air as an invitation, not an order. The gesture is small, but powerful. For the first time since you lost yourself, you feel like you have a choice. Your heart still races, but now there's a difference. Before, fear seemed to own every beat. Now there's a spark of hope. You look around. People keep passing by, too busy to notice. But Paul stayed. Only he stopped. Only he chose to see you. He takes a handkerchief from his pocket and gently wipes the tears from your face. There's no rush in his movements, no impatience, just care. And that care is worth more than any words he could say. You feel as if someone is wiping away not only your tears, but also the weight you carry in your chest. Paul then discreetly points to your breathing, as if asking, "Take a deep, slow breath." You try to obey. At first, the air comes in shuddering gasps, difficult, held back by crying. But then, little by little, you feel your lungs filling up again. It's almost as if the air has more space. as if there's a future in the next breath. He smiles slightly when he notices you're starting to calm down. It's not the smile of someone who finds it amusing. It's the smile of someone who knows that small gestures can change destinies. And in that moment, even without words, you understand a message. You are not forgotten. You are not alone. Little by little, the feeling of invisibility begins to dissipate. The supermarket no longer seems so threatening. The shelves no longer seem like insurmountable walls, but simply shelves. The noise is no longer an avalanche, but simply the normal sound of life around us. His presence transforms everything. You still don't understand how or why, but you feel. And sometimes, feeling is stronger than understanding. Paul holds your hand firmly but gently. The warmth of his touch contrasts with the chill that ran through your chest minutes ago. He takes a deep breath, as if choosing the right words, and then speaks. Hey, calm down, breathe with me. That's it. You're not alone, understand? I'm here. You feel the hiccups subside. Air comes in more easily. He continues, I know it seems scary. It feels like the whole world has gotten too big and you're too small. But you know what? It passes. It always passes. Because someone always comes along. There's always hope. The words, there is always hope, keep hammering in your mind. You don't understand everything, but you understand enough. Maybe fear isn't eternal. Paul looks around, as if observing the movement in the supermarket, and then turns his eyes to you. Sometimes, life is like that. We get lost. Not just children. Adults get lost too. They get lost in problems, in money, in haste. And they think there's no way out, but there is. There always is. You just have to stop, breathe, wait for the right person to appear. You bite your lower lip, trying to understand every word. Money, haste. These are things you don't quite understand. But his tone is so sincere that it pierces your soul. Paul smiles slightly and says, the future isn't in rushing. The future is in the choices you make now. And the most important choice is to believe you have value. Even when you feel small, even when the world doesn't seem to see it. The tears still fall, but now they're different. Not of despair, but of relief. You feel seen, recognized, important. He continues, almost in a tone of fatherly advice. Always remember this. Money is important, yes. It will pay bills. It will buy food. But that's not what gives life meaning. What gives meaning are the people you love. The faith you hold in your heart. The hope you never let go. That's true wealth. That's a value no one can steal. You remain silent, absorbing each sentence. Paul squeezes your hand again and concludes. You will grow up and you will have choices. Some easy, some difficult. But never forget, you can always choose good. You can choose to believe that life is worth it. You can choose to be hope for someone who is lost, just like you are now. The words echo inside you like a hug. It doesn't matter that you're still too young to understand everything. What matters is that the sensation has changed. Fear no longer dominates. There's something new taking up space inside your chest. Hope. You take a deep breath. Following the rhythm Paul marked with his hand, the air enters slowly, as if it has learned a new path within you. Your heart, which previously beat fast and irregularly, finds a rhythm that doesn't hurt. The noise of the supermarket continues. Cartwheels scratching the floor, plastic crinkling, voices calling out sales. But now these sounds no longer seem like monsters. They're just sounds, and you're safe. Paul points his chin at the ceiling as if to say, one more breath. You obey. With each breath, the feeling of being invisible melts, like ice melting in the sun. Suddenly, noticing the simple things becomes easier. The white light reflecting off the colorful candies, the smell of fresh bread coming from the bakery, the cold floor beneath your sneakers. The world didn't shrink. It was the fear that stopped screaming so loudly. You realize he's not trying to rush you. He doesn't pull your arm. He doesn't say, let's go. He stays. And staying in that moment is worth more than any words. It's presence, it's care, it's value. You feel that even if small, there's space. And this space gives you the courage to look forward. Like someone who finds a little path inside their chest, pointing to the future. His words continue to echo like a refrain. Hope, choices, life. You don't understand everything, but you understand that you can choose to believe, choose to wait, choose to breathe. It's strange how such small decisions change so much inside. The hallway, which seemed endless, now has an end. The red sign in the distance doesn't scare you. People aren't indifferent giants. They're just people, running with their lists, their bills, their money, and their own fears. Paul picks up a random product from the shelf, a little box with a blue design, and shows it to you. Oh, you? Giving you a goofy smile, as if you're in on a secret. You let out a small laugh between sobs. It's just a little box. But for a second, it feels like a magic trick. The magic of transforming panic into presence. Of transforming "I'm lost" into "I can still be found." Faith starts small, the size of a sigh, but grows quickly when someone believes with you. You notice that your hand, once stiff and clenched, is now loose. Without realizing it, you no longer scratch your arm, no longer twist the hem of your shirt. Paul notices it too. He doesn't celebrate loudly, doesn't make a fuss. He just gives a short, cornered smile, as if he knows that the greatest victories happen in silence. And in the silence, you also know something has truly changed. Fear tries to return, like a shadow testing you, but it can't find the same place, because the space is now occupied by a simple certainty. I matter. Maybe no one in the hallway knows your name, but someone looked into your eyes and said, without saying, you are seen. And when someone sees you, the world stops being an enemy. It becomes a stage. Life fits in your chest again. You imagine your mother turning the corner of a hallway and calling your name. Imagine the familiar sound of her voice cutting through the sound of the announcements. The image is powerful and brings a warm glow. It's not a delusion, it's a map. It's the way your mind unravels the knots. Paul didn't promise results. He gave you tools. Breathe, wait, believe. These are small choices that change the future of grown-ups. For a moment, you stare at your reflection in a glass door. Eyes still wet, cheeks flushed, but a shy smile emerging. And you realize that courage isn't about stopping being afraid. It's about continuing to breathe even when fear wants to take over. The world remains vast, but you're no longer alone in it, and that makes all the difference. Paul lets out a soft "okay," and as if checking to see if his heart has found its rhythm. You nod. He gives a discreet, almost amusing thumbs up, and that small gesture becomes an anchor. When the wave of fear tries to return, you know where to hold on. You didn't memorize a complicated speech. You memorized 3 simple words that now live within you. Hope, faith, choices. And it's just when you accept that you can wait without despair that, from somewhere down the aisle, a familiar voice begins to approach, like someone piercing through the fog. From the end of the aisle, a voice begins to cut through the din of the supermarket. It's a voice you recognize, familiar, warm, almost a beacon in the storm. Your name echoes between the shelves. Where are you? Your heart leaps, not with fear, but with relief. You look at Paul. He smiles, as if he already knew this would happen. He doesn't rush to his feet, doesn't make a grand gesture. He just stands there, by your side, waiting for you to gather the courage to let out that last sob. His hand squeezes yours once more, firm enough to say, I was here, and you were never alone. An employee approaches with your mother. She runs to you, tears in her eyes. The hug too tight for words. You feel whole again, but you realize something inside is no longer the same. Because now, even in her arms, you still feel the calm Paul left behind. You turn to thank him, but he's already standing. His face, illuminated by the cold market lights, seems to hold a glow that doesn't originate there. He gives a small, simple, almost imperceptible nod, as if to say, mission accomplished. Your mother speaks quickly, thanking the stranger, but you notice Paul doesn't respond with speeches. He just smiles, that same serene smile that already carried more of an answer than any sentence. And then, slowly, he melts into the aisles, disappearing into the crowd that continues its life without noticing the miracle that has just occurred. You still feel his hand in yours, like a physical memory that won't let go. The words come back to you, clear, as if etched somewhere deeper than memory. There is always hope. The future lies in the choices you make now. The value of life lies in love and faith. In your mother's arms, you hold on tighter, not only out of fear of losing them again, but because you understand that holding on to someone is a choice, and choices matter. Choices build paths. Even small gestures like stopping before a lost child can change entire destinies. While your mother's voice still echoes in your ear, Paul's question rises up inside you like a whisper that won't go away. And you? What would you do if you found someone lost in the middle of your road?